please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
30 minutes, but let's kickstart the show with the market action of the day. It was after a dismal end to February series, market ended the week today with a clean slate. Nifty and Sensex surged 1% each, and the Nifty closed just shy of the 10,500 mark. The Sensex reclaimed the 34,000 mark. Mid-caps outperformed, gaining more than 1.5%. The Nifty Bank also reclaimed the 25,000 peak, aided by 300 points of a rally. Anuj Singhal is here with a wrap of today's trading action. Anuj, clearly Friday cheer back on Dalal Street.
Big surge for the markets on first day of new series, as is the case normally after you have a washout series, and that was most visible in the sector which was beaten down the most, which is the Bank Nifty, which had a big surge, as I said, after a big breakdown series. In terms of individual stocks, Sun Pharma was perhaps your stock of the day. That Halol inspection report was out. The market liked it. Tata Steel, UPL, Tech Mahindra. It was broad-based. Hindalco, Vedanta, and of course the big move in financials led by stocks like Yes Bank, Bajaj Finance, even the stronger one of the bigger ones like HDFC Bank and ICICI also in the green. In the mid-cap space, there was a party out there. GP Associates was up 20%, Fortis was up 10%, Mindtree, GMR Infra, Kaveri Seeds, Jindal Steel, all of these stocks were up anywhere between 6 to 10%. What next? Well, there's temptation to, see the first day of new series and think that something big is coming, but, you just want to see, especially after a big Feb series, first full week of March series before taking a decisive call. The first full week of a 5-week series sometimes can be a bit of a trend decider. So that's something that we'll find out, of course, next week.
Okay, we'll have to wait for next week. But for now, we'll seem to be getting back on the horse. For now, let's move on to the latest in the PNB issue. The government has actively stepped in to take stock of the alleged 11,400 crore rupee fraud at Punjab National Bank. The Finance Ministry has written to 4 banks, SBI, Axis, Bank of India and Allahabad Bank, asking them to check for irregularities at their overseas branches in Hong Kong. Remember, the letters of undertakings illegally issued to Nirav Modi were submitted to branches in Hong Kong. We also learned that the Enforcement Directorate has frozen accounts worth 30 crore rupees belonging to Nirav Modi. Shares worth close to half that amount have also been frozen. Acting on a tip of the ED has also seized over 170 steel cupboards and plastic boxes containing imported watches. The ED is also likely to begin seizing properties belonging to Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi. While these fresh details emerge, employees of Gitanjali Gems are protesting outside the Mumbai office. This follows similar protests by employees in Hyderabad who have been demanding alternate jobs. Now, heads may roll after the final outcome of investigation in the PNB scam, but can't paint all the banks with the same brush. That's what top government officials are telling CNBC TV18. Sapna Das, who has been speaking to Finance Ministry sources, is here. And she's in fact been speaking to various departments across the board. And she's here to give us the details on if there are plans for an immediate rejig in the management of public sector banks. Sapna, what are your sources telling you?
Well, what government quarters are clearly indicating on this matter is the fact that they will wait for the investigative agencies to fix clear responsibilities before any decision actually is taken in terms of management rejigs, because that's not going to be a small decision. So that's one. Second line of caution that is coming in from them is that you can't paint everyone with the same brush. So there may be culpability, there may be the possibility that heads will roll if a clear responsibility is fixed by the investigative agencies, but everyone can't be painted with the same brush. They do not want to create any panic in the market as of now. So this is the clear takeaway from government as of now as far as the management rejigs are concerned. The second aspect they are clarifying is that the Bank Board Bureau has absolutely no role to play on this, and any decision on bank management rejigs will lie completely with the government. Last and not the least, but there is also the question about RBI's role, and this has been flagged off at various levels during the last couple of days. Here, the government is very clearly indicating that under various sections of the Banking Regulation Act, RBI's responsibility is very much fixed, and it may be possible that down the line, probably in a couple of months, you may see further changes in terms of tightening accountability, or rather making accountability better in the banking system, but that's a couple of months away. So as of now, no knee-jerk reaction as far as bank management rejigs are concerned. They will wait for reports to come in, very clear reports to come in from investigative agencies. Action will be taken, but you can't paint everyone with the same brush. So needful will be done, but a line of caution over here.
Okay, so that's the view of the Finance Ministry on the PNB issue. Now, the 11,000 crore rupee fraud at PNB has raised concerns over the economic state of affairs at public sector banks, triggering demands of privatization of PSBs. Top representatives of industry body FICCI today met the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley with a list of suggestions to bring PSU banks on track. FICCI sought an immediate action on the PNB fraud matter. FICCI President Rashesh Shah urged the Finance Minister to begin the process of bank privatization in a phased manner. Some of the other suggestions include reducing banks' dependency on capital infusion by government, reducing the number of PSU banks and increasing corporate governance at the board level. Moving on, Lakshmi Mittal, the chairman and CEO of the world's largest steel company, ArcelorMittal, feels that his company is a fitting buyer for Essar Steel as they, he believes, can create value in the bankrupt company with their might and experience. He was at the North Block today to meet Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. That meeting comes amidst controversy over Arcelor's eligibility to bid for Essar Steel, given its investment in Uttal Galva, which it sold before the bids. Remember, the race for Essar Steel will be a clash of the titans. Apart from ArcelorMittal, New Metal, which is a JV between Roya family and Russia's VTB, is the only other bidder.
We have put in a very important and well-planned bid for Essar Steel, and we think that we can create value in this company with our experience on a global basis.
आप लोगों के जो बिड्स थे, बिड्स को अभी तक रिजेक्ट किया गया दोनों के, सर के और आप लोगों के भी, तो उसके बाद क्या कहना है, क्योंकि दोनों को क्वालिफाई नहीं पाया गया था?
नहीं, अभी तक जो हमने सुना है उसके हिसाब से कोई भी बिड रिजेक्ट नहीं हुई है। रिजोल्यूशन प्रोफेशनल्स आर स्टिल, वो लोग अभी भी स्टडी कर रहे हैं और हमें उनके डिसीजन का इंतजार करना चाहिए।
So Bhushan Steel and other companies are also under hammer. Are you looking at putting your expression of interest for those as well?
No, we have put in our interest only in Essar Steel.
Okay, Lakshmi Mittal confirming that he believes are the best suitors for Essar Steel and they have only bid for that company. Sticking to the insolvency space, interested suitors making a beeline for the beleaguered JP Infra may have to wait a bit. CNBC TV18 learns the resolution professionals are currently evaluating the 10 bids that have come in for the company. Remember, JP Infra was among the first to feature in RBI's list of defaulters. So who exactly is in the race? Let's bring in Manisha Natarajan, who tracks the space very closely. Manisha, you have been talking to your sources. How long till we see a final suitor emerge, and what is the process now going forward?
Yes, we've learned that there have been a total of 10 bids. Some of these bids are for the entire JP infrastructure assets. Some of these are for individual assets, which is of course land and real estate and the Yamuna Expressway. Now, some of the names which have come to our notice are JSW Infra, Adani Group, Kotak Cube Investments, JV, Suraksha, ARC. The financial evaluation is being done by KPMG. There's a separate team looking at the legal angles of all these bids. What's interesting to note is that on 26th February, which is Monday, when the COC meets, they are going to probably use bids for individual assets, and if those are higher than the entire company, they may push the buyers to actually up their bids. So that negotiation is on. They could also, if the sum of parts is not bigger than the parts themselves, be open to selling off these assets individually, is what we've learned. Buyers, of course, are looking at an early resolution. Today, there was supposed to be a Supreme Court hearing with JAL, which has been cancelled for the third time in February. Some of the buyers who've stopped paying EMIs have started receiving letters from JP Infra cancelling their allotment, and from banks as well recalling the loans. So IRP under pressure to resolve this at the earliest.
Move on to the big story from Court Corner. The Supreme Court today asked the government to set up a panel that would look into rehauling the regulatory mechanism that govern multinational accounting firms in India. The Apex Court was today hearing a PIL, or a public interest litigation, filed by the Centre for Public, which had highlighted alleged malpractices by global audit firm PwC. Utkarsh Anand, who tracks the space very closely, is here with the details. Utkarsh, what else are you picking up, and what were the arguments that were presented in court today?
This is a PIL by an NGO, Center for Public Interest Litigation, which is being led by senior advocate Prashant Bhushan in the Supreme Court. Now, his limb of the arguments was about the fact that there have been certain instances of malpractices by the PricewaterhouseCoopers and its networking firms, and because of lax regulation by the ICAI and the governmental agencies, the Supreme Court must step in and rehaul the entire regulatory mechanism surrounding the MNC's accounting firms. The Supreme Court, by its order today, appeared prima facie convinced by the fact that yes, the regulatory mechanism needs to be, in fact, it requires a rehaul, it needs to be revamped, and therefore it has directed the government to set up a committee, a 3-member committee, which will in fact look into the current mechanism, the regulatory mechanism, and then will, in fact, this committee will then inquire into certain allegations which have been made against PwC. Now, the allegations against the PwC is about illegal infusion of foreign firms into certain local firms in violation of the FDI norms and SEBI regulations. It also talks about a rupees 240 crore inflow of fund into local firms of PwC, Indian firms of PwC, which was allegedly unaccounted for, and also about certain malpractices in accounting procedure. All these things were argued by Prashant Bhushan in the court. PwC denied all those charges and said that we have always complied with the norms, the SEBI norms, the FDI regulations. PwC also denied the charges of evasion of taxes and said that we are open to any further inquiry. On that, the Supreme Court today has said that let this committee first go through the regulatory mechanism, devise certain new modalities, then inquire into allegations of the CPIL, and then submit a report in the court in the next 2 months. We'll get to know after 2 months whether the petitions, allegations, accusations against PwC, and for that matter any other MNC accounting firm, whether it holds any water or not.
Okay, Utkarsh, thanks for taking us through those important and crucial arguments. Let's move on to a CNBC TV18 exclusive though. Fortis Healthcare has a new suitor now. Sources tell CNBC TV18 that Malaysia-based healthcare company IHH has re-entered the race to buy Fortis Healthcare. Nisha Poddar, who broke that story earlier today, is here with exclusive details. Nisha, what has led to IHH now re-entering this race?
Oh, what a rally we saw on Fortis Healthcare today, and we broke this news earlier in the day. After that, the stock was clearly euphoric in trades today. IHH, the global major in this particular business and also with deep pockets, has re-entered the fray to buy out Fortis Healthcare, is what we gather from sources with direct knowledge. Now remember, earlier it was in talks to buy out Fortis, but at that time the valuations were higher, and also it developed a cold feet because of the Daiichi legal tangle that Singh brothers were handling. Now, with Singh brothers quitting the board of Fortis Healthcare, so therefore the Daiichi liability has been disentangled, and on the other hand, the valuations of Fortis Healthcare are at much more mouth-watering levels. IHH is back, but I would still say that Manipal back to buy TPG, which is looking to infuse 5,000 odd crore rupees in this merger of Fortis Healthcare with itself, is in advanced stages. So at this point, the twist in the tail is going to be what the lenders decide. Yes Bank and Axis Bank have invoked all the pledged shares of the promoters of Fortis Healthcare, and they will have a say in the deal. And IHH or Manipal TPG combined, whichever pays higher, will be the winner of Fortis.
Shares of Sun Pharma saw some wild swings in the latter half of trade, plummeting around 2% before ending in the green for the week. Now, this at the back of news that after US drug regulator had issued 3 observations to company's Halol plant. Remember, this Gujarat-based plant has been under the US FDA scanner since September 2014, when drug regulator issued 23 observations. Management will submit response to the US FDA within 15 days. And of course, the stock will be closely watching for any developments with respect to this issue. Let's stick to the pharma space. The Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance's Quality Forum is currently underway in Hyderabad. Archana Shukla caught up with the Managing Director of Cadila Healthcare, Sharvil Patel, on the sidelines of that forum and asked him about price erosion in the US market. Here's what he had to say.
So with the consolidation that has happened in the US, there has been significant challenges on the pricing front. Also, with the approval cycles improving faster, you will see far more approvals coming through in the US. So I think what is very important is to have a portfolio of high volume products, portfolio of some differentiated products where you can see limited competition. And also build on the efficiencies on the cost front, on both on the API as well as the formulations front. So we are concentrating on all of these aspects. Securing the supply chain is the most critical aspect today, because we are seeing significant disruptions that can get created on account of API, intermediates, on account of testing processes outsourced. So we are working on all of those things to make sure that we are harmonizing all of these things, and we have a better control on our supply chain, so we don't have failure to supply. That has been a most important thing we offer to our customers, is that we are a reliable partner in terms of being able to supply on time in full, and that's our core philosophy in terms of what we want to throw as a partner of choice for most of the distributors in the US. On the R&D front, we have been very productive, I feel, in the last couple of years. We have had a good number of filings, many approvals in the last 12 months, and with a healthy pipeline of still 150 plus filed products, we will continue to see a steady state of good number of approvals coming through.
Well, it's the last leg of Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's week-long India visit, and it's also the most significant one after much speculation that the Canadian Prime Minister had been conferred by the Indian government. Prime Minister Narendra Modi welcomed his Canadian counterpart with a hug at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Later, the two leaders held bilateral talks on issues including trade and investment, education, defence and tourism. They also signed 6 memorandum of understandings by the end of that meeting. All good, that is a wrap on this edition of After the Bell. Many thanks for watching this show, but stay tuned to CNBC TV18 as Taking Stock will take all the market action for the day and for the week forward on the other side of this very short break. Don't go anywhere.